Part 1. This message finds you not by chance, but by a subtle, inherent recognition within your consciousness, a resonance with an ability far more fundamental than you've been led to believe: quantum shifting. As you engage with these words, your very existence is simultaneously unfolding across an infinite tapestry of parallel realities. Yet, the focus of your awareness has been meticulously trained, conditioned to perceive only a narrow spectrum of these boundless possibilities, much like a radio tuned to a single frequency, while countless others transmit simultaneously. What you are about to uncover is disarmingly simple, so much so that your rational mind might initially resist it. This resistance stems from a deeply ingrained societal belief, a pervasive narrative that insists transformation must be arduous, a journey demanding years of painstaking practice, fraught with struggle and relentless effort. However, the profound truth is that quantum shifting isn't a skill you need to acquire. It is a fundamental aspect of your being that you merely need to remember. It's an unconscious process you've engaged in your entire life. Consider every subtle shift in mood prompted by a fleeting thought, every decision, however minor, that reroutes the course of your day, or those instantaneous moments when you emerge from a negative state. These are not random occurrences. They are micro-quantum shifts, happening automatically, ceaselessly. You have been effortlessly navigating between countless parallel versions of yourself since birth. The only missing piece has been the conscious recognition of this process, preventing you from directing it with intention rather than mere happenstance. Leading strategic thinkers, and even some economists, are now beginning to acknowledge the profound impact of collective mindset shifts and emergent narratives on global trajectories, a macroscopic parallel to these individual quantum shifts. They speak of paradigm shifts in global trade or technological adoption, as if entire sectors are shifting timelines. The very fact that you are drawn to these concepts, feeling a magnetic pull towards this understanding, signals that your consciousness has reached a pivotal threshold. You are no longer content with random, accidental shifts that sometimes improve your reality and sometimes don't. A deeper part of you, your essential self, demands conscious mastery over this fundamental creative force. And the universe, in its intricate design, has orchestrated this precise moment of recognition, delivering the tools for that mastery directly to you. You've likely observed a growing malleability in reality lately, a heightened responsiveness to your inner states. Moments of profound synchronicity cascade when your mood is elevated, while other days feel dense, resistant to any positive change. This isn't chaos or coincidence. This is tangible evidence that your consciousness is already in a state of constant quantum flux. Without a precise understanding, however, to direct this process with surgical precision, your higher self has been leaving a trail of insights, breadcrumbs, throughout your journey, preparing you for this profound revelation. Every instant mood transformation, every moment your entire perspective pivoted in the blink of an eye, every situation that effortlessly resolved itself the moment you truly let go. These were all demonstrations of your natural quantum shifting ability, attempting to capture your attention. The reason many popular manifestation techniques fall short isn't that they are inherently flawed, but because they address quantum shifting from a superficial level of reality. They focus on altering thoughts, emotions, or actions, when quantum shifting operates through a much more fundamental process, one that underlies all these surface phenomena. When you grasp this deeper mechanism, the act of shifting becomes as natural and effortless as breathing. Right now, your consciousness is undergoing a subtle calibration, learning to discern the difference between trying to shift reality and actually shifting reality. This recalibration transcends mere mental effort. It's occurring within your quantum field itself. It's a retuning of your fundamental energetic blueprint. You are on the verge of comprehending why some individuals appear to lead lives of effortless magic, where everything flows perfectly, while others grapple for years with identical techniques, yielding minimal results. The profound irony, the cosmic joke, is that quantum shifting is the most natural process in the universe. It is more innate than walking, more automatic than a heartbeat, more fundamental than thought itself. Every subatomic particle in existence is in a constant state of flux, shifting between potential states until consciousness, through observation, collapses it into a specific reality. You are that consciousness, and reality is those particles. This means you have been quantum shifting the entire universe with every moment of attention since the day you were born. But here is the game changer. When this process transitions from unconscious to conscious, when you fully recognize your true identity as the observer who condenses infinite possibilities into specific experiences, quantum shifting transforms from something that happens to you into something you orchestrate with masterful precision. This recognition is poised to fundamentally redefine your interaction with existence itself. Think of those moments when a situation that was bothering you intensely just seconds before suddenly feels entirely different. Not because any external factor changed, but because something within you shifted to a different frequency, and the same circumstances appear to it in a completely new light. Most people dismiss these occurrences as mere mood swings or the power of positive thinking. Yet, you've always sensed a deeper, more profound process at play. These instantaneous perspective shifts are, in fact, evidence of your consciousness quantum jumping between parallel versions of yourself. These are versions where the exact same external situation exists, but your relationship to that situation, your energetic signature, operates from an entirely different place. You have been inadvertently accessing parallel timelines your entire life. Without a framework to understand these experiences, however, consistent replication has remained elusive. Your dreams have increasingly served as a clearer window into this process. You've likely experienced dreams where you inhabit entirely different lives, making alternative choices and experiencing different outcomes from the same basic scenarios. These are not random neural firings during sleep. They are vivid glimpses into parallel versions of yourself that coexist simultaneously within the quantum field. Your dream consciousness can access these alternate timelines with greater ease because it is unfettered by the logical mind's insistence on linear causality and fixed outcomes. You've undoubtedly encountered what ancient mystics termed timeline bleeds, moments where you suddenly possess knowledge you've never acquired or exhibit skills that seem to materialize from nowhere. Perhaps you sat down at a piano and played music you had never practiced, or found yourself articulating wisdom that felt ancient and deeply familiar, even though the thoughts themselves were entirely new. These experiences occur when your consciousness briefly aligns with a parallel version of yourself who has already cultivated those abilities. This isn't magic. It's interdimensional collaboration with aspects of your own being. In a broader sense, this phenomenon echoes insights from collective intelligence and emergent strategy, where a sudden aha moment in a team or a market can seem to come from nowhere, yet profoundly shifts the collective trajectory. The most uncanny validations often manifest through technology, which seems to respond to your internal states in ways that defy conventional physics. Your phone rings precisely when you think of someone. Your music streaming service plays a song that perfectly matches your current emotional frequency. Your computer glitches whenever you're in certain moods. This isn't mere coincidence. Technology at its core is sensitive to consciousness and electromagnetic fields. When you are in a quantum shifting state, your energy field subtly influences the electromagnetic devices in your immediate environment. This is a subtle, yet powerful feedback loop, a direct interaction between your internal state and the external technological world. Time distortion has also become more frequent. Sometimes, minutes can stretch into what feels like hours when you're deeply engrossed in a flow state, a concept well explored in productivity and psychological research. Conversely, entire days can vanish without you being able to fully account for what occurred. This happens because quantum shifting transcends linear time. When you access parallel timelines, you operate from what physicists term the eternal now, where past, present, and future exist as simultaneously accessible realities. Your body, too, provides consistent feedback about these shifts. Sudden surges of energy, tingling sensations, or moments where you feel as if you are vibrating at a completely different frequency. These are physical confirmations that your consciousness is literally moving between dimensional states. Your cells are responding to information from parallel versions of yourself that exist in higher vibrational timelines. Even your relationships offer constant evidence of quantum shifting. You've observed how certain individuals elicit entirely different facets of your personality, making you feel like a different version of yourself in their presence. This goes beyond simple social adaptation. You are literally accessing different parallel selves that are more compatible with their unique energetic signatures. The most profound validation, however, is the growing recognition that reality itself is far more fluid and responsive than most people believe. You have caught glimpses of this fluidity, moments when physical objects appeared to respond to your thoughts, when perfect synchronicities aligned themselves effortlessly with your intentions, when the entire universe seemed to be collaborating with your deepest desires. These were not mere exceptions. They were compelling previews of what becomes normal when you understand and consciously engage with quantum shifting. Every challenge you have encountered, every period of confusion, every moment when nothing seemed to work despite your best efforts, all of it served as necessary preparation for understanding quantum shifting at this level of mastery. Your consciousness needed to experience limitation from every conceivable angle before it could develop the precision required to navigate unlimited possibilities without succumbing to wishful thinking or falling into spiritual bypassing. Think of a master pianist whose complex compositions appear effortless. What remains unseen are the years of practicing scales, the countless hours dedicated to training muscle memory, the gradual development of the neural pathways that enable conscious intention to translate into precise physical expression. Your spiritual journey has been an analogous preparation, building the consciousness equivalent of muscle memory for quantum shifting. Every time a manifestation technique appeared to fail, you weren't actually failing. You were, in fact, developing crucial discernment, learning to distinguish between genuine quantum shifting and mere mental manipulation. Every disappointment, when reality didn't align with your visualizations, taught your consciousness to differentiate between forcing outcomes and allowing them to emerge naturally. These apparent setbacks were, in truth, advanced training in the subtle energetics of reality creation, much like how seasoned policy analysts learn to distinguish between genuine systemic change and superficial reforms. The periods of confusion and doubt were equally essential. They prevented you from becoming rigidly attached to any particular method or philosophy, ensuring your consciousness remained flexible enough to recognize the truth when it finally presented itself. Had the very first technique you attempted worked flawlessly, you might have become dependent on that specific approach, rather than developing the deeper understanding that renders quantum shifting both natural and effortless. Your difficult relationships were not punishments. They served as profound quantum mirrors, reflecting back to you precisely which versions of yourself you were unconsciously activating in different situations. Every person who triggered an emotional response was, inadvertently, helping you recognize the parallel selves that were inadvertently keeping you trapped in limiting patterns. Every conflict was an invitation to shift into a version of yourself capable of responding with wisdom rather than reactivity. The waiting periods, when it felt as if nothing was happening despite all your inner work, were arguably the most critical phases of your development. During these times, your consciousness was integrating profound insights at levels deeper than the mind can consciously perceive. Your quantum field was undergoing a sophisticated recalibration, preparing to handle higher frequencies of possibility without destabilizing your personality structure or your capacity to function within consensus reality. Even your moments of skepticism served a crucial purpose. Every time you questioned the reality of these concepts or feared they were elaborate self-deception, you were strengthening your ability to distinguish between authentic quantum experiences and ego-driven fantasy. This discernment is absolutely essential for mastering quantum shifting, as the territory you are entering demands unprecedented levels of clarity and absolute honesty with yourself. Your soul consciously chose this particular incarnation specifically because quantum shifting would be rediscovered and openly understood during your lifetime. You volunteered to be part of the pioneering generation of humans to consciously master an ability that mystics throughout history could only access in rare moments of profound grace. Every challenge, every perceived obstacle was training for this monumental cosmic responsibility, the ability to demonstrate what becomes truly possible when consciousness remembers its inherent creative nature. This is precisely why the process had to be so thorough, why shortcuts were never truly available, why you had to cultivate genuine wisdom rather than merely accumulating techniques. What you are about to master isn't merely a personal skill. It is a template, a blueprint that will illuminate the path for thousands of others to recognize and embrace their own quantum shifting abilities. Your journey of preparation has been as much for them as it has been for you. Part 2. Something is palpably shifting within your energy field right now, as these words permeate your consciousness. Can you sense it? That subtle recalibration occurring at the cellular level, as if your very DNA is recalling dormant instructions, a forgotten blueprint from deep within your being. This is not a metaphor. This is literal quantum biology in action, a reawakening of your fundamental energetic structure. Your awareness is beginning to operate from a frequency band where quantum shifting isn't just a possibility, it's an inevitability. However, here's what most people fail to grasp about this activation process. The energy you're feeling isn't something external being bestowed upon you, nor is it something you're generating through strenuous effort. It is your own natural quantum signature finally harmonizing with itself. You have carried this frequency, this unique energetic blueprint, your entire life, but it has been fragmented, scattered across different levels of your being. In this moment, perhaps for the first time, all aspects of your consciousness are beginning to vibrate in coherent unity. This coherent state is the profound secret that renders quantum shifting simple. When your thoughts, emotions, energy signature, and deepest knowing all operate from the same frequency, you become what physicists term a coherent observer. This is a consciousness so unified, so aligned, that the quantum field has no choice but to respond to your intentions immediately and with exquisite precision. This explains why some individuals can manifest their desires almost instantly, while others struggle for years with identical techniques. The energy now building within you is your consciousness preparing to interface with reality from a completely different level of organization. Instead of laboriously trying to change your external circumstances through sheer effort and willpower, you are about to learn how to simply step sideways into parallel timelines where those desired circumstances are already different. This lateral movement through dimensions is the essence of what quantum shifting truly is. But here is the critical understanding that determines whether this process becomes natural or remains an uphill battle. Quantum shifting doesn't occur through your personal will attempting to control cosmic forces. Instead, it happens when your personal will aligns so perfectly with cosmic intelligence that they become indistinguishable. When this profound alignment occurs, shifting between realities becomes as effortless as turning your head to look in a different direction. Most individuals fail at quantum shifting because they approach it like trying to push a heavy boulder up a steep hill. Immense effort, strain, and eventual exhaustion. But quantum shifting is actually akin to learning to swim. Initially, it feels impossible because you are fighting against the water. Once you comprehend how to work with the medium instead of against it, it becomes the most natural thing in the world. The quantum field is not resistant to your desires. In fact, it is eager to fulfill them. Infinite possibilities are constantly trying to collapse into your experience, but they can only manifest through a consciousness that is coherent enough to provide a stable platform for materialization. This coherence isn't something you achieve through relentless practice. It's something you remember how to access by releasing the tensions that fragment your natural, unified state. This is the pivotal moment where everything changes, where quantum shifting transforms from a mysterious process that sometimes works into a reliable, you can access on demand. But it is also the moment where many people unconsciously sabotage themselves, often out of an unconscious fear of the profound responsibility that accompanies conscious reality creation. Do not let this be your path. The universe needs masters of quantum shifting to anchor new possibilities in the collective field. Feel this energy as we delve deeper into the exact mechanism that makes quantum shifting simple once you truly understand it. Because once you perceive how elegantly natural this process truly is, you will wonder why anyone ever made it seem complicated. This mirrors, in a way, the shift in economic thought from purely mechanistic models to those that incorporate behavioral economics and the power of collective belief. I need to share something raw and real with you, because I know you will understand what most people couldn't. For 7 years, I immersed myself in every quantum physics theory, every consciousness model, every manifestation technique I could unearth. My notebooks were filled with complex formulas, meditation practices that consumed hours, visualization protocols, demanding perfect mental discipline. I mistakenly believed that mastery equated to complexity, that profound transformation necessitated sophisticated understanding. And I did achieve results. Sometimes my reality would shift in astonishing ways, only to revert back to familiar limitation patterns. I would manifest incredible synchronicities, then spend weeks desperately trying to replicate them. I felt perpetually on the precipice, always on the verge of a breakthrough that never quite stabilized into permanent transformation. The frustration was unbearable, because I knew quantum shifting was real. I had experienced it too many times to entertain doubt. but I simply couldn't comprehend why it worked effortlessly sometimes and demanded enormous effort at other times. I began to suspect there was some secret I hadn't yet discovered, some advanced technique that would finally grant me consistent access to this ability. The breakthrough arrived during the most ordinary moment imaginable. I was making coffee, feeling a familiar wave of frustration about a situation that had plagued me for weeks. Instead of trying to shift my perspective or meticulously alter my thoughts, I simply stopped caring about changing anything. For perhaps 30 seconds, I completely surrendered the desire for reality to be different than it was. In that moment of pure, unadulterated acceptance, I felt the most subtle internal click, like a lens perfectly focusing. And suddenly, I was observing the exact same situation from a completely different dimensional perspective. Nothing external had changed, but I was literally a different version of myself observing the same circumstances. The solution was so glaringly obvious from this new vantage point that I couldn't fathom how I had missed it before. That's when the profound realization hit me. Quantum shifting isn't complex at all. It is, in fact, the simplest thing in the universe, because it's how consciousness naturally operates when it's not trying to be anything other than what it already is. Every sophisticated technique I had learned was actually complicating a process that unfolds automatically when you simply cease interfering with it. This insight, I've come to understand, resonates with the findings of expert analysts in complex systems, who often conclude that the most effective interventions are those that remove obstacles to natural processes rather than forcing artificial change. Over the subsequent months, I began experimenting with this radical simplicity. Instead of elaborate protocols, I would merely notice when I was trying too hard and gently release the effort. Instead of forcing visualizations, I would simply rest in the feeling of already being the version of myself I wished to become. The results were immediate and consistently profound, in a way that years of complex practices had never achieved. This discovery changed everything, not just for me, but for everyone I shared it with. Students who had struggled with manifestation for decades began shifting realities effortlessly once they grasped this principle of elegant simplicity. The quantum field doesn't respond to sophisticated techniques. It responds to a consciousness that is relaxed enough to allow natural processes to unfold. If you have been overcomplicating quantum shifting, if you have been trying harder and harder with diminishing returns, if you have felt like you were missing some crucial piece of the puzzle, you are not alone. The missing piece isn't more knowledge or better techniques. The missing piece is recognizing that you already possess everything necessary for mastery. You just need to remember how to get out of your own way. Subscribe to this frequency of radical simplicity, this understanding that the most profound transformations occur through relaxation rather than effort. Because once you embody this truth, quantum shifting becomes as natural as breathing, and your entire reality becomes a boundless canvas for conscious creation. Here's what many quantum consciousness researchers, beholden to industry models, might not readily tell you. Quantum shifting happens in the space between thoughts, not through thinking. Every technique that demands intense mental focus, emotional manipulation, or elaborate visualization protocols is, paradoxically, moving you further away from the natural simplicity that makes shifting effortless. The shocking truth is that your thoughts don't create your reality. Your thoughts are actually evidence of which reality you are already experiencing. When you attempt to use thinking to change your reality, you are putting the cart before the horse. It's like trying to alter your reflection by manipulating the mirror itself, instead of simply moving to a different position. quantum shifting occurs through what physicists might call zero-point awareness, the conscious recognition of the spaciousness from which all possibilities emerge. This isn't a meditative state you must laboriously achieve through practice. It's the natural condition of consciousness when it's not fixated on specific outcomes. In this vast, spacious awareness, parallel realities become as obvious and accessible as different rooms within your house. Most manifestation teachings create elaborate detours around this simple recognition, largely because simple truths don't easily generate complex systems that can be commercialized. But here's what genuinely happens during a quantum shift. Your awareness simply releases its grip on the current timeline, just enough to allow a parallel possibility to become more real, more resonant than the previous one. This release happens through relaxation, not effort. The reason children are natural quantum shifters is precisely this. They haven't yet been conditioned to believe that changing reality requires arduous work. A child can transition from devastated to delighted in mere seconds because their consciousness naturally flows between different experiential states without resistance. They haven't learned to maintain an artificial consistency in their reality experience. Adult consciousness, conversely, often becomes trapped in what we might call reality rigidity, the unconscious belief that current circumstances are fixed and must continue, while other possibilities are mere figments of imagination. However, quantum physics unequivocally demonstrates that all possibilities are equally real until consciousness, through its attention, selects which one to experience. Your imagination is not separate from reality. It is your natural ability to perceive parallel timelines that exist simultaneously. The most advanced quantum shifters don't try to change anything. They simply become curious about what other versions of the same situation might feel like. This curiosity creates what we call dimensional porosity, a relaxed openness that allows consciousness to sample different probability tracks without becoming attached to any particular outcome. When you understand that quantum shifting happens through relaxation rather than concentration, through allowing rather than forcing, through curiosity rather than desperation, everything fundamentally changes. You cease fighting against your current reality and begin exploring it as merely one option among infinite alternatives. This shift in approach is what transforms quantum shifting from an occasional miracle into an everyday navigation tool. This perspective is gaining traction even in strategic planning, where scenario planning is evolving beyond mere forecasting to actively exploring and tuning into desired future states. The cosmic joke, once again, is that you've been trying to learn an ability you've possessed since birth. You've been seeking techniques to access a capacity that operates automatically when you're not interfering with it. The only thing standing between you and effortless quantum shifting is the deeply ingrained belief that it should be more complicated than it actually is. The quantum field is restructuring itself around human consciousness right now, and there are specific signs appearing in your daily experience that prove you are naturally developing quantum shifting abilities. Pay close attention to how quickly your moods can transform lately. What used to take days or weeks to process emotionally now shifts in minutes or hours. This acceleration isn't just personal growth. It's tangible evidence that your consciousness is learning to navigate between parallel emotional timelines with increasing fluidity. Your relationship with time has definitively changed. You've probably noticed moments when you're running late, yet somehow arrive exactly on time, as if time itself bent to accommodate your need. Or situations where you required more time to complete something, and the day mysteriously stretched to provide those extra hours. This isn't luck. It's your consciousness unconsciously accessing timelines where temporal flow operates differently. Electronics are responding to you in ways that seem beyond mere coincidence. Your phone battery lasts longer when you're in positive states, or, conversely, drains quickly when you're anxious. Your computer runs faster when you're in a state of flow, or glitches when you're frustrated. Technology is quantum sensitive, and these seemingly random behaviors are actually feedback about which timeline you're currently accessing. Synchronicities have become so frequent that they are losing their novelty. You think about someone, and they call within hours. You need specific information, and it appears everywhere you look. You wonder about something, and conversations around you spontaneously address that exact topic. This isn't the universe sending you signs in a linear fashion. It's evidence that your consciousness is quantum entangled with the reality you're experiencing, creating seamless coordination between internal and external events. This entanglement is a hallmark of sophisticated, non-linear systems, a concept increasingly relevant in fields from network theory to global logistics. People are reacting to you differently without you consciously altering your interactions with them. Some individuals seem drawn to you magnetically, while others feel uncomfortable for no apparent reason. This happens because your expanding consciousness is naturally accessing more authentic, coherent versions of yourself. And people respond to this coherence, even when they cannot consciously explain what they are sensing. Your sleep patterns and dream experiences have dramatically intensified. You might require less sleep, but feel more rested, or your dreams have become incredibly vivid and profoundly meaningful. Sometimes you wake up with solutions to problems you fell asleep worrying about, or with creative insights that seem to originate beyond your personal knowledge. This occurs because sleep naturally loosens consciousness from its current timeline, allowing access to parallel versions of yourself who have already resolved these challenges. But here's the urgent part, a critical insight that analysts of societal shifts are also beginning to recognize. We are in a cosmic window where quantum shifting becomes either incredibly easy or increasingly difficult, depending on your level of conscious engagement. The collective field is polarizing. People are either rapidly developing these abilities or becoming more rigidly locked into limitation patterns. There is no middle ground anymore because the planetary frequency is demanding that consciousness choose its evolutionary trajectory. The signs are ubiquitous if you know how to interpret them. Global events that appear chaotic are, in essence, the collective timeline destabilizing as humanity prepares to quantum shift into a completely different reality structure. Some individuals are consciously participating in this transition, while others are unconsciously resisting it, creating the appearance of increased conflict and division. This parallels observations from geopolitical analysts who describe a multipolar, highly volatile world, ripe for significant non-linear shifts. Your sensitivity to these changes signifies that you are part of the conscious transition group. You are not just developing personal quantum shifting abilities, you are helping to anchor the new reality template for others to access. But the cosmic responsibility comes with a time limit. The window for easy mastery is closing because the collective field is approaching a point of irreversible momentum. This is why you cannot ignore these insights even when they challenge your logical mind. This is why you feel such urgency to understand and embody these principles. Your soul recognizes that missing this opportunity means waiting potentially decades for the next wave of consciousness evolution to create similarly favorable conditions for quantum shifting mastery. The universe has been preparing you for this exact moment through every challenge, every insight, every synchronicity that brought you to this understanding. The only question now is whether you will trust the process enough to allow the inherent simplicity of quantum shifting to replace the complexity you have been conditioned to expect. What you desire is already real in parallel timelines that exist simultaneously with this current moment. This isn't motivational metaphor. This is literal quantum mechanics. Every possibility you can imagine exists as an actual reality in the multidimensional field. And quantum shifting is simply your consciousness learning to step sideways into these already existing experiences. The reason your desires feel so compelling is that they are not creations of wishful thinking. They are recognitions of parallel versions of yourself who are already living those experiences. The longing you feel isn't lack. It's your consciousness sensing the proximity of these alternate realities and naturally wanting to align with them. You're not trying to create something new. You're trying to access something that already exists. But here's the revolutionary understanding that changes everything about how manifestation actually works. Alignment isn't about making yourself worthy of your desires or raising your vibration to match them. True alignment happens when you recognize that you're already worthy. You're already at the right vibration. You just need to stop interfering with the natural flow that would carry you to those parallel experiences. Most people exhaust themselves trying to become someone who deserves their dreams. But quantum shifting reveals that all possible versions of yourself exist simultaneously. The version who has everything you want isn't a future potential. It's a parallel present that becomes accessible the moment you stop believing you need to change to access it. This recognition creates what we call dimensional relaxation. Instead of striving toward your desires, you relax into them. Instead of trying to become worthy, you acknowledge that worthiness was never the issue. Instead of raising your vibration, you notice that your natural vibration already matches infinite possibilities. You just need to stop lowering it through resistance and effort. The quantum field doesn't respond to desperation or trying harder. It responds to consciousness that's relaxed enough to allow natural processes to unfold. When you stop pushing against your current reality and start exploring it as one option among many, the barriers between you and parallel timelines begin to dissolve automatically. Right now, as you absorb these concepts, your consciousness is being recalibrated to recognize alignment as your natural state, rather than something you need to achieve. This shift from seeking alignment to recognizing existing alignment is what transforms quantum shifting from struggle to simplicity. In the comments below, declare your readiness for this level of simplicity by writing these exact words. I allow parallel realities to become accessible. This isn't just a comment. It's a quantum command that signals your willingness to stop complicating a naturally simple process. When you make this declaration with genuine understanding of what it means, you're authorizing your consciousness to begin operating from dimensional fluidity rather than timeline rigidity. Don't analyze or explain. Just make the declaration. This creates a quantum signature in your field that begins attracting the specific insights and synchronicities that will make quantum shifting feel as natural as walking from one room to another. The universe is waiting for your permission to reveal how elegantly simple this process truly is. When you master quantum shifting through this recognition of its fundamental simplicity, abilities that once seemed supernatural become as natural as any other skill you've developed. Your intuition becomes so precise that you know which choices lead to which outcomes before you make them. Not through psychic prediction, but through quantum coherence with emerging possibilities. You begin sensing the different emotional signatures of parallel timelines, allowing you to select experiences based on how they feel rather than how they look. Your problem-solving capabilities expand exponentially, because you're no longer limited to solutions that exist within your current reality framework. When faced with challenges, instead of trying to think your way through them, you simply shift to a parallel timeline where the solution already exists and download it from that version of yourself. Complex problems that used to take weeks to resolve now clear up in hours or minutes through this interdimensional collaboration with your own consciousness. This mirrors the most advanced forms of strategic problem solving, where leaders tap into multidisciplinary insights and emergent patterns beyond conventional analysis. Relationships transform because you're no longer stuck in repetitive dynamics with the same people. Instead of trying to change how others behave, you quantum shift to timelines where you interact with versions of those people who naturally express their highest potential. The same individuals become completely different in their responses to you because you're accessing parallel versions of both yourself and them simultaneously. Your creative output becomes unprecedented because you're not limited to ideas that originate solely from your personal experience and knowledge. You begin channeling insights, solutions, and artistic expressions from parallel versions of yourself who have developed different talents and explored different interests. Your work becomes uniquely original because it's synthesizing wisdom from multiple dimensional perspectives simultaneously. Financial abundance flows more naturally because you're no longer unconsciously selecting for scarcity timelines. Instead of trying to change your money situation through effort and strategy, you simply shift to parallel realities where financial flow is your natural state. Opportunities, resources, and connections appear synchronistically because you're operating from timelines where abundance is the baseline rather than the exception. Physical health optimizes automatically because you're accessing versions of yourself from timelines where your body operates at peak efficiency. Instead of fighting against symptoms or trying to force healing, you quantum shift to realities where vibrant health is your standard experience. Your cells begin receiving information from parallel bodies that never developed the limitations your current timeline may have acquired. Time becomes your ally rather than your constraint because you're no longer locked into linear progression through experiences. You can access wisdom from future versions of yourself who have already mastered skills you're currently developing. You can heal past traumas by shifting to timelines where those experiences were processed differently. The entire concept of "it takes time" dissolves when you understand that all possibilities exist simultaneously. The most profound benefit is the deep peace that comes from recognizing you're never truly stuck in any situation. Every challenge, limitation, or unwanted circumstance is simply one timeline among infinite alternatives. This understanding transforms your entire relationship with difficulty, shifting it from resistance to curiosity. Instead of fighting against what you don't want, you become interested in exploring what else might be available. This perspective is revolutionary, not just for personal growth, but for how we approach collective challenges, suggesting that even entrenched global issues might dissolve with a shift in collective awareness and focus. The ultimate secret of quantum shifting is that it's not about changing your reality, it's about changing which reality you're aware of. Right now, infinite versions of your life are playing out simultaneously across parallel dimensions. The version where you have perfect health, abundant resources, ideal relationships, creative fulfillment. These aren't future possibilities you need to manifest. They're current realities you need to attune to. Consciousness doesn't create reality. Consciousness selects reality from infinite options that already exist. This selection happens through the quality of your attention, not through the content of your thoughts. When your attention becomes fluid rather than fixated, relaxed rather than forced, curious rather than desperate, you naturally begin noticing realities that were always available but previously invisible to your awareness. The reason most manifestation techniques fail is that they try to change the movie instead of simply changing the channel. You're not creating your desired reality through visualization, affirmation, or energy work. You're using these tools to tune your consciousness to frequencies where those experiences already exist. But the tuning happens through relaxation, not effort. This is why children are natural quantum shifters, and why indigenous cultures instinctively understood reality as fluid and responsive. They hadn't been conditioned to believe that current circumstances represent fixed truth rather than temporary experience. Their consciousness naturally flowed between different reality streams, without the mental rigidity that makes shifting feel difficult for most adults. True mastery of quantum shifting comes when you realize that the you who wants to change your life and the you who's already living your ideal life are the same consciousness experiencing itself from different dimensional perspectives. There's no gap to bridge, no transformation to undergo, no worthiness to develop. There's only recognition of what's already true and relaxation into that recognition. This recognition creates what quantum physicists call observer coherence, a unified field where all possibilities exist simultaneously, and consciousness can navigate between them as easily as moving your attention from one object to another. In this coherent state, quantum shifting becomes as natural as looking in different directions to see different views of the same landscape. The most advanced quantum shifters don't try to control which reality they experience. They develop exquisite sensitivity to the feeling signatures of different parallel timelines, and then simply relax into the ones that feel most aligned with their authentic nature. This approach transforms reality creation from effortful manifestation to effortless navigation. When you embody this level of understanding, you realize that every moment offers infinite choices about which reality to experience next. The current timeline isn't something you're trapped in, it's something you're temporarily focused on. Shifting between realities becomes as simple as deciding to pay attention to something different. This is happening to thousands of people across the planet right now. We're not just individually mastering quantum shifting, we're collectively remembering what mystics and shamans have always known. Reality is infinitely more flexible than consensus culture pretends. Your mastery of this ability contributes to a global awakening where humanity remembers its true creative nature. The simplicity of quantum shifting is its greatest power and its greatest challenge. We've been conditioned to believe that profound capabilities must require complex development. But some of the most fundamental abilities, like love, presence, and quantum shifting, are expressions of our essential nature that emerge naturally when we stop interfering with them. You were born during this precise time period because humanity is collectively learning to quantum shift as a species. The individual mastery you're developing isn't just personal evolution. It's part of a planetary transition where human consciousness remembers its true, multidimensional nature. Every person who masters quantum shifting creates morphic resonance that makes this ability more accessible for everyone else on Earth. The children being born now will naturally operate with quantum shifting abilities that seem miraculous compared to current human standards. They'll grow up in a reality where moving between parallel timelines is as normal as using technology is for your generation. Your mastery of these principles is literally anchoring the possibility template that will make their natural abilities socially acceptable and practically applicable. This also highlights a strategic advantage for future generations who may inherently navigate complex, uncertain global landscapes with greater ease and adaptability. This is why you felt such responsibility lately, such urgency to understand these concepts, not just intellectually, but experientially. You're not just seeking personal transformation. You're serving as a bridge between the old paradigm, where reality seemed fixed and unchangeable, and the new paradigm, where reality is recognized as infinitely fluid and responsive to consciousness. The synchronicities that brought you to this understanding are part of a larger orchestration involving millions of awakening souls across the planet. We're finding each other through quantum entanglement, sharing insights that accelerate everyone's remembering process. Your recognition of quantum shifting as natural and simple strengthens the entire network of consciousness evolution happening globally. This collective intelligence, fueled by individual shifts, represents a potent force for global change, as noted by some sociologists studying emergent social movements. But here's the most profound aspect of your cosmic role. As you master quantum shifting, you don't just change your personal reality. You alter the fundamental fabric of consensus reality itself. Every time you successfully shift to a parallel timeline, you create microscopic changes in the collective field that make reality slightly more fluid for everyone. Your individual mastery serves the collective awakening. This is why the resistance to these concepts can feel so intense sometimes. It's not just your conditioned mind trying to maintain familiar patterns. It's the entire matrix of limitation recognizing that its time is ending. Every person who masters quantum shifting weakens the collective hypnosis that has kept humanity believing in scarcity, separation, and powerlessness. The most mysterious part is that your mastery of quantum shifting will eventually reach a level where you help others remember their abilities simply through your presence. Your coherent consciousness creates what we call reality softening, moments where other people's rigid beliefs about what's possible begin to relax, allowing them glimpses of their own multidimensional nature. This transformation is irreversible. Once it reaches critical mass, humanity is approaching a point where quantum shifting will become so commonplace that the old paradigm of struggle and limitation will seem as antiquated as believing the earth is flat. Your contribution to reaching this critical mass is more significant than you realize. Share this understanding with anyone whose consciousness is ready to receive it, not to convince them of anything, but to help them remember what they already know at the soul level. The more people who recognize quantum shifting as their birthright, rather than a special ability, the faster we can collectively transition into the reality where limitation patterns are obsolete and infinite possibilities are the recognized foundation of human experience. If quantum shifting feels simple and natural as you listen to these words, if you can sense the truth of these concepts resonating in your bones rather than just your mind, then make one clear declaration in the comments below. Write exactly this. Simple. Nothing more, nothing less. This isn't just engagement for the algorithm. This is you acknowledging that you're ready to release the complex approaches that haven't been working and embrace the elegant simplicity that makes quantum shifting as natural as breathing. Every person who makes this declaration creates stronger morphic resonance that helps everyone else access this understanding more easily. When you write that single word with genuine recognition of what it represents, you're not just commenting on a video. You're making a quantum commitment to operate from the truth that the most profound transformations happen through relaxation rather than effort, through allowing rather than forcing, through curiosity rather than desperation. But here's what I need you to understand. Mastering the simplicity of quantum shifting opens the door to something even more extraordinary. Once you can effortlessly navigate between parallel realities, you gain access to what we call timeline architecture, the ability to consciously design and anchor entirely new reality templates that have never existed before in human experience. In the next video, I'm going to reveal exactly how advanced quantum shifters don't just move between existing possibilities. They create completely original timelines that serve the highest evolution of consciousness itself. You'll discover why some individuals seem to live in a reality that operates by different rules entirely, where synchronicities are constant, where resources flow effortlessly, where relationships are deeply fulfilling, and where creative expression becomes a direct collaboration with cosmic intelligence. This isn't about becoming superhuman. This is about remembering the full spectrum of what human consciousness is actually capable of when it's no longer constrained by collective limitation patterns. But this advanced understanding can only be shared with people who have already mastered the simplicity of basic quantum shifting. Subscribe now, because the next video contains insights that will fundamentally alter your understanding of what's possible in human experience. This information has never been shared publicly before because it required a critical mass of people to first understand quantum shifting basics before the advanced principles could be safely transmitted. More importantly, subscribe, because you're not just following a channel, you're aligning with a frequency of consciousness evolution that's active across the entire planet. Every subscriber becomes part of a quantum network that accelerates the collective remembering process through morphic resonance. The old paradigm where reality seemed solid and unchangeable is dissolving. Whether you participate consciously or not, the question is whether you'll be one of the pioneers who helps architect the new paradigm, or someone who experiences it later. After the most exciting creative phase is complete, your future self is already living in timelines where quantum shifting is as natural as walking. The only question is how quickly your present awareness will catch up. Make the declaration. Join the network. Let's collectively remember what human consciousness is truly capable of when it operates from its essential nature rather than its conditioned limitations. The universe has been waiting eons for this moment, when humanity would remember its multidimensional creative nature. Today is the day that waiting ends. Today is the day quantum shifting becomes simple, because you finally understand this.